Before I begin my speech, I do want to acknowledge that we're on the traditional, unceded, and shared territories of the Stolo people, and I'd like to introduce our council colleagues in the Manny-Dio style. I didn't know this, but apparently you have to announce the name of every board member incorrectly. So I'd like to thank Councillor Denny Plikas for coming, Councillor Karul Hamilton, Councillor Jig Gal, Councillor Marcus Davies, and we have one other councillor here. Oh, there she is, Councillor Angela Eliash. I also want to thank, as we heard, our new Minister of Agriculture, Minister Parm Alexander. Thank you. Congrats, Parm. Christmas is a time for traditions. Some are widely shared, like decorating a tree and hanging our stockings, while others are only for family, friends, or neighbors. Some traditions are easy to appreciate and clearly deserve to be continued. For example, Councillor Elias's cabbage rolls and Councillor Hamilton's shortbread are good examples, while my Grandma Bunny's cream cheese, pineapple, and marshmallow salad might be an example for tradition that deserves to be retired. This luncheon is an important tradition, but I'm guessing a few of you would like to retire the parts where the mayor prattles on endlessly about how we're going to tackle the same issues we've always faced. Sadly, that tradition won't be retired this year, but we can always hope. Indeed, isn't hope one of the most important values of Christmas? We all know that pain, poverty, and conflicts exist in our communities. But our wise forebears chose this, the darkest time of the year, to remind us that we need to share hope, peace, and love with others. Adversity is inevitable, but hope is a tradition we must choose. And there are two other traditions that come to mind as Christmas approaches. For most of us, for example, watching our favorite Christmas movies and TV specials is a big tradition. So I asked Council about their favorite movies a few days ago. There were plenty of answers, and I'm sure you have your favorites as well. So just to make this a little more interesting, I'm going to insert a few hidden references for you die-hard Christmas movie fans, and see if you can count the movie references along the way. In Council's informal poll, A Christmas Carol emerged as the most popular choice, which only makes sense for a municipal government. After all, our job is to learn from the ghosts of our past, to evaluate where we are in the present, and to think ahead to Christmases yet to come. And that brings me to the second festive tradition, one that is observed just once every 4 years. You probably think I'm referring to how often Councillor Davies washes his Christmas suit, but I'm speaking, of course, about strategic planning. Planning is a lot like Ebenezer Scrooge's journey, because we examine the hard lessons of our past, witness the physical realities of today, and experience the spirit that will carry us into the future. This year, we handled the tradition a little differently. After all, we have the advantage of continuity. 6 of us have already served together, and while Councillor Elias is new to Council, she also has plenty of experience as a community partner. Similarly, we have continuity and experience in our staff team, with many administrative leaders who have worked their way up in the organization. They have a ground level understanding of our community's culture, and they understand the importance of successorship and leadership development. So that's why we relied on our own team to guide us through 3 days in which we considered Mission's history, present, and future. So now I'd like to read to you the story of Mission's Christmas Carol. Please put on your imaginary nightcaps and dressing gowns as we are visited by the 3 spirits from Mission Christmases past, present, and yet to come. You thought it was a short speech? I've got a book. As we hear the bell toll once, we are joined by the ghost of Mission Christmases past. He smiles brightly and warmly, and even though he is very, very, very old, he has clearly been a part of Mission for a very long time. Hi, I'm Danny, he says. Climb in. We don an old helmet and climb into a magic soapbox derby car that zips through the skies over a historic mission. At first, quite frankly, it doesn't seem like there's much to see. It's green, wet, and steep here. We see the Stolo people seamlessly moving and living in rhythm with the land. And we see hopeful pioneers arriving, oops, I'll lose my page, and expecting to be able to farm, only to find that they have huge trees to clear first. They already look exhausted, we say. Yes, but these folks aren't quitters, explains our first ghost. In fact, you're witnessing the beginning of a tradition. Overcoming adversity is the defining quality of a missionite. As we scroll through the first 80 years of Mission City's history, we watch some of those farmers become lumbermen when they realize that there's money in those trees. Others turn their cleared lands into the country's most booming dairy farms. We see the city start its own tree farm. All that hillside water becomes a source of electricity. Eventually, we see a residential school close and become a park. What happens next? Just look, says Danny. You'll see some tough times, but you won't see anyone give up. We see families broken apart by the residential school. We see floods, the internment of Japanese farmers, the collapse of our first bridge. How many of you knew that the Mission Bridge had collapsed? There, some of you know your history. Then things get quiet. Farming slows, gives way to subdivisions. Industrial buildings and equipment lay idle. Fishing comes to an end. Our downtown fades. The lights below us are still lovely, but as we look a little closer, we notice something. Many of those lights are cars heading out of our city. Where are they going, we ask? Some of them have jobs in Surrey and Poco. Others are shopping in Abbotsford, Danny replies. How long has this been happening, we ask. For as long as there's been a mission, we've shared a tradition of facing obstacles, explains Danny. Big things like floods and bridges, and even bigger things like downtown parking have done their best to stop us. But we've held strong to our vision of prosperity and a plan to lure it here. He begins to fade away, but as he does so, he hands us a pair of tickets that read 1985 Chamber of Commerce Christmas Luncheon. With his bony finger, the ghost of Mission's Christmas past points to the speaker, journalist Sam Steenis. We hear Sam give a speech about Mission's battle with 1980s inflation and a sagging lumber industry. We hear him paint a picture for economic redemption. Suddenly we are falling, and as we land in our beds, we fall asleep with Sam's words dancing in our heads like sugar plums. If Mission wants to go on a date with industry and commerce, he said, she needs to doll herself up a little. 2 more bells toll. We haven't been in bed very long before our next ghost finds us home alone and wakes us up. She's wearing a coffee shop uniform with a tag that reads Cindy Lou Who. She unplugs her electric sleigh and hands us a no-foam skinny pumpkin latte in a biodegradable cup. As we float higher, we see that the number of lights has increased considerably. But when our eyes come into focus, we realize that most of our new buildings are pizza places. Wow, people in Mission seriously like pizza, we exclaim. It's more like love, actually, but it's no wonder. They spend so much time in their cars that nobody has time to cook, Cindy Lou explains. Outside, it's a white Christmas, making our forest and community look cozy and Canadian, but Cindy Lou warns us not to get too comfortable. At any moment, she says, this snow could become a fall drought, a summer heat dome, or a winter atmospheric river. Heat miser and cold miser regularly visit Mission. The climate is definitely not on Santa's nice list these days. Then we zoom in on green areas and ravines, and we see people camping in those areas, surrounded by garbage, living in desperation. Are there no homes? Are there no programs, we ask her. This is but a fragment of what I could show you, she replies. Look there. Can you see in that window? There's a family enjoying a meal just a few feet away from someone else who's starving. We don't remember ever seeing this before, we reply. It was always here, but it was harder to see, our ghost explains. Today, our neighbors find it harder to set aside anger, fear, and judgment. They struggle to know how to help, and too often they look away. But looking away is hurting us all. Is there no hope? Our ghost lifts us up, and we are suddenly surrounded by good cheer and the smell of sausages. Where are we ask? This is a Rotary meeting, Cindy Lou replies. But don't eat too much, because we're also stopping for another Rotary meeting at midday. And then there will also be baked goods at our meetings with MASH, the Downtown Business Association, the Chamber of Commerce, Mission Altogether for Healthcare, the Sports Council, the Historical Society, the Humane Society, Lifetime Learning Society, Mission Arts Council, Missions Volunteer Firefighters, Search and Rescue, Link, Soapbox Derby, Hospice Society. Wait, we say. My gosh, don't these people have jobs? This is Mission, she explains. It runs on coffee and muffins. But these folks get things done. If you can get them pulling together, they're like the Polar Express. Nothing can stop them. And we have more exciting things to say, says Cindy Lou, and off we go into the foggy Christmas Eve with our feet, and until our feet alight on sand. Wow! A beach! Christmas in paradise! This is more like it, we say. Actually, we're still in Mission, says our ghost. This is an industrial site being prepared for development. There are 3 places just like this in Mission right now. Plus, this is a good place to see other sources of light. And with an immaculately manicured finger, she points up the hill. One at a time, construction cranes light up, followed by apartments, a new mall, new crosswalks, streets and streetlights, bike lanes, trails, a senior center, and a youth center too. Stores, restaurants, and buses light up the downtown. With so much happening, I don't think we can go back to sleep, we say. Don't worry, says Cindy Lou. You're 130 years old, and it's way past your bedtime. Before we know it, we're back in our beds, dreaming. The bell strikes 3 times, and we are shocked awake by a figure at the end of our bed, a jolly-looking pixie who smells like ranch dressing and pepperoni. Completely made-up character. No idea who this is based on. Who are you? I'm Buddy, he replies. Get ready because I'm here to show you Mission's future. Should we change into something else, we ask? No, you don't even need pants for our first visit, he replies. We're applying for a building permit and a business license in Mission, and you can do that entirely from any computer 24 hours a day. When you're done, let's go for a bike ride. A few minutes later, we're pedaling our way through the clouds on a bicycle built for 2 until we arrive at a complex of buildings. Do you have a bike lock? We ask Buddy. We don't need one here, the ghost replies. The police station is here, along with a bunch of other stuff. We can take out a book, see some art, visit a museum. Sounds good, but we hate long lineups. Luckily, he says, those are rare here. City Council started setting aside money for staffing back in 2023. They realized this place was getting bigger and busier, so they planned for the future. They had a plan for recruiting and developing city staff as Mission grew, and they also knew we would need more space, enough for them to work. Sounds pretty pie in the sky to us, we replied. Even if we do have the right people, equipment, and workspaces, there's no way people would want to work here. There's not enough exciting work to do, and there's no place affordable to live, especially uptown. Why, it would take a miracle on 34th Street for people to be able to buy a house in that neighborhood. My friend, if you spend a little less time on Mission BC and neighbors, and a little more time with me, you'll see the possibilities. It's not a perfect future, people. Let's go. It's just a short walk to the park. As we walk up the hill, we can see Centennial Park in the distance. Or is that another park? It's hard to tell with so many people enjoying the Christmas market here. There's a band playing Christmas songs on futuristic instruments, flubers and tartukas, woo-hoopers and gardukas. Families are walking through the paths, enjoying Christmas lights and displays. In the covered box, kids are playing a noisy game of Zuzitakarze, a roller skate type of lacrosse and croquet. This can't be Centennial Park, can it? It is, says Buddy, and if you think it's busy today, you should visit in spring and summer. There's always something going on, from community events to sports tournaments to outdoor markets. It was updated in the 2020s, and so are many other parks. There are more trails and ways to enjoy the forest here too. In fact, Mission is the most popular spot for day visits in the entire Fraser Valley area. It looks good now, but we bet it's not safe after dark, we say. Listen, Scrooge, things are better than in your day. Mission has the right amount of police and full-time firefighters. And there's considerably more housing here, including supportive housing for women and youth. And the people in those programs are getting help from outreach teams, community agencies, and mental health providers. Mission brought in a community wellness strategy in 2023, and they allocated the resources to actually make it happen. As we climb back onto our bike, we start to feel a little nervous about Buddy's steering skills. Can we avoid the roads if we're going to ride this contraption? Yes, indeed, says Buddy cheerfully. There are plenty of multi-use paths, trails, and sidewalks in Mission, and when we need to cross the road, there's no shortage of properly designed crosswalks. Or, if you'd rather take a bus, we can wait 5 minutes and hang the bike on the front. But never mind, we've arrived anyways. Maybe it's the fact that it's after 3 a.m., but what we see really doesn't look like a destination at all. It's the lunchroom at the Green Lake Publishing Company. A few folks in fluorescent green vests are drinking coffee and laughing about how bad the Canucks and Canadians are doing this year. Wow, I guess some things never change, we say. But where are we? This, explains Buddy, is where you'll find the best coffee in town. Have a sip. We take a sip and spit it right back out. That's terrible. It's weak, and it's not just cold, it's downright frosty. That's all true. But if you take another sip, you'll savor the sweet flavor of a diversified tax base and better local incomes. That coffee is free to everyone who works here, but the best part is that it's served right here in Mission. These are your neighbors of the future. They make good money here, and they save time and gas. Remember, this plant contributes more than 2.5 times the tax rate of a single-family home. It requires less community amenities, and it stimulates other businesses. I think you agree that's worse than bland coffee. Besides, if they want a good cup, they can always stop for work right over there. Buddy raises his finger and points toward a familiar sight. The Mission Bridge is in the background, but in the foreground, just beyond, there's a bustling village center. If you head on over there, you can get a great cup of coffee or a beer, plus something great to eat, explains Buddy. Why don't you head over and get a table? I can't promise that there won't be a lineup there, but when you get a table, please order me some wings. As we sit waiting for our food, we see people walking along the river. Some are visiting the harbor, while others are making their way back and forth to stores, the bus exchange, work, and school. People are meeting friends and neighbors, exchanging holiday greetings, enjoying local art, and celebrating together at the village plaza. This is a busy place, we exclaim. It's the best place in the Fraser Valley, says Buddy. People love to be here, whether they're visiting, working, shopping, or living in this area. We can't believe what we're seeing, we tell him. Well, then it won't happen, he says. If you can all picture it, it will inevitably come true. But if you don't hold a picture of the future in your mind, you will continue to live with the troubles of the past. This future has happened elsewhere, and there is no reason it can't happen here. You have the resources, you have the people, you have a beautiful community. You have a tradition of overcoming adversity and of holding hope. You have a city council focused on ensuring internal resources, creating places for people to work, bolstering public safety, and improving your public spaces. But they're going to need your help to make it happen. And with that, Buddy disappears, leaving all of us to divvy up his bill. Completely fictitious character. A few hours later, we are awakened on our couch by the sound of the West Coast Express's whistle. At our feet lies a half-eaten dill pickle pizza and a melted Slurpee. That explains it, we think. It was all a dream. But when we look out the window, the light seems a little brighter. The day a little more hopeful. It's Christmas Day, we say to ourselves. We haven't missed it. We see a young woman walking by and slide the window open. You there! Do you know the hospital? Not the one in Abbotsford, but the one on Heard Street.
I should hope I do reply. Yes, sir, you mean Mission Memorial Hospital?
An intelligent lass, a most remarkable lass. Yes, that's the one. Now tell me, does it still need a CT scanner?
Why, yes, sir. Yes, it does. Times have been tough, sir, and they are still more than 200 shillings short.
200,000 shillings short, yes. Oh No, nonsense, nonsense, my dear. We have had a bountiful year in our forest, a most bountiful year indeed. Why, I know a man with elbow pads on his jacket who says that they have had money to share. Find him for me, and I'll give you 200,000 shillings. So, with that, I'd like to invite our Forestry Department, Mission Altogether for Healthcare, Fraser Valley Healthcare Foundation, and Mission Council to please come up as we get a little Christmas present from our Forestry Department to the City of Mission and continue and finalize the funding for our CT scan here in Mission. Let us toast our city and one another, and to paraphrase Ebenezer Scrooge, may we all be as light as a feather, as happy as an angel, as merry as a schoolchild. A Merry Christmas to everybody, and a Happy New Year to all the world.